Well, I've heard some interesting things about Vivek that I don't know if you've heard about it or read about it or anything like that. But I heard some kind of background stuff about him that's kind of questionable about who's funding him and like some of the things that he had said about all the COVID stuff that was happening, and now he's kind of changed. And again, you can change your mind in such a quick amount of time because there are people who are saying, well, at first I thought maybe if you did put a mask on, if you did get the vaccine, it would be good. But then they realize, oh crap, I was wrong, and I'm sorry. But Vivek, I think he wrote a book or something like that where he was kind of talking about that. It was kind of like wishy-washy and like that. So I think what he's saying, if we're just looking at what he's saying right now, he might be in the top three. But I guess kind of looking at his past, you're kind of thinking, kind of it
Yeah,
makes
I
you,
get what you're saying, but you know
yeah.
who else that criticism came up with? Donald Trump. Because I
Mm,
remember doing an
yeah,
interview with NPR, and Donald Trump had all these things, and the guy asked me, "Well, how do you know he's going to go do all these things? This wasn't
right.
his history." I'm like, "Well, you have a point. We don't know." And about people changing, people do change. I said things that I no longer agree with. We were talking before the show. Michelle Malkin, I met her at her home. Lovely woman, her family.
Hmm.
She told me she used to be a neocon. She was wrong.
Yeah,
She's
right.
changed her mind. So people do change. Tucker was a neocon. So people change their positions. And we all, yeah, that's okay. I'm fine with people adapting their positions. I don't know. Some of Vivek's positions, I was like, wow, have you been watching Ramspaul videos? Because he says a lot of stuff that's very Ramsey-Paulish, that's for sure.
Hmm.
And it's like when he talked about Israel, what I like about Israel is how they protect their borders and have their identity. I'm like, wow, that's what I always say. So could he be a fraud? Sure. We never know, right? But
Right.
I mean, did he say stuff in the past? He's changed his mind. Yeah, they all have. But what he's saying right now, I support him. Do I think he's a savior? No, I don't think anyone is. I'm kind of cynical. But of all the ones that are running now, the only three people I could support right now for president that are running are Donald Trump, Vivek, and is it Vivek or Vivek? I never know.
Whichever.
He should have changed his name like Nikki Haley's, kind of more
Right.
American.
Yeah. Yeah.
John
John.
Smith.
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Smith,
Yeah.
yes. And then the RFK Jr. I kind of like him too, to be honest. So those are the three I
Hmm.
like. But all three I don't think really have a chance. But Vivek maybe. I don't know. So he's the one I like.
Yeah, and I think like Ron DeSantis, he's someone that I think if there was any chance of him getting that nomination, I think it's pretty much gone now. I mean that debate, the little that I saw, I mean there was the one where I saw a clip where the moderator was asking all the candidates if Donald Trump does end up uh
Yeah.
being the nominee, I think was the
Yes.
question. Who would like, raise your hand if you would do that, despite everything that's going on? Would you still support him? And Vivek was like the first one. Yeah, I would.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
then I can't remember who else was it. But then you see Ron DeSantis looking around and be like, it's like, come
Yeah, and
on,
he
like
didn't
this.
even raise his hand high. He was like,
Yeah,
okay, I
it's like,
guess if I have to. I'm just he came across very weak. I was this is clarification. In 2022, I was on the Ron DeSantis bus. Remember the big election in Florida? It was kind of there was
mhm,
going to be the red wave, and that didn't really happen. But he did crush it in Florida.
yeah,
He won easily. And he was doing everything. He was doing funny things, sending immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, hilarious trolling,
right.
and he was saying all the right stuff about all this weird transgender stuff in schools. And I'm like, I really like Ron DeSantis. He seems like a Donald Trump without the baggage or character issues. Because I like Donald Trump in many ways, but he has his flaws. Let's just put that way. In his personal life, he's not. He's not the type of guy. He's not been the squeaky clean type of guy, right?
Hmm.
And Ron does seem that way. And I'm like, yeah, so Ron DeSantis, here's a younger guy. Trump's getting older. He's going to 77 now. So he's aging. And so we have a younger guy, more energy, same policies basically as Trump, articulate. I was all on board. And then he was on Tucker. Yeah, the whole Ukrainian thing, that's a territorial dispute. And then he got talked to. And then he went straight neocon. Then he went
Yeah.
to Israel and decided to ban speech, based on pamphlets, which is against the First
Like,
Amendment.
what does that have to do with Florida?
It's hilarious. It's just so bad
Yeah,
optics going to a foreign country to do that, and
right.
you shouldn't do that anyway. You should allow speech, and it's, not that I ever do such a pamphlet, but that should be your right, right? And it's not gonna be enforced, universally, right? Because I object to the LGBTQ agenda, but if someone puts an LGBTQ pamphlet on my house, well, they wouldn't where I live now because I'm in the sticks. But theoretically, if they if they did, I kind of sue them, saying, "Oh, this is an insult to me," and so it was horrible. And I really was disillusioned with Ron DeSantis ever since then. And I thought his campaign's been really poor. I don't
Yeah.
see him I don't see him. I think he's blew it. I agree with you.
Yeah, and he like you said, he crushed it in Florida. I think he won
Yeah,
by like 20 points or whatever it was. It was a
yeah.
pretty good number. But now with this presidential run, and I'm sure even people who voted for him in Florida kind of thinking, well, did you do this just to try and run for president? Like, I don't understand what was the point. He should have just stayed in Florida, focused on Florida, because now if he tries to run for governor again, which I don't, I think you can run for governor. I don't know 100%, but say he does decide to run for governor again. Who has to say that all the people who voted for him are going to like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if you're in this for Florida or if you just want to run for president again. Like, I don't know what your plan is here.
Yeah, I think his strategy was poor because a lot of people were talking before he announced that he wouldn't announce that he was a rising star, and the smart move was to sit out this election and go for 2028, right?
Yeah.
So the Trump thing would be over. He then would be, position himself as the de facto front runner. Whereas now Trump is killing it, and the only way they're going to get the nomination is by default. Default. I mean, what a way to win, right? By
Mm,
default, I won.
right. Right.
So that's kind of what they're hoping for now. But yeah, I think he kind of ran prematurely, in my opinion. He probably should have waited for 2028. But we will see. We will see. Maybe he will be the nominee. I don't know. I guess technically he's still in second place, or Vivek is closing the gap. But we will see. It's always early. If you follow the presidential elections or the nomination process, frequently who you think's going to win, it changes a lot once things start getting going. So we'll have to see.